I'm so used to the sick tune of the program. I keep dancing. Anyway, President Muhammadu Buhari's administration has worked hard to reduce Nigeria's food import bill.
Now, through policies and farmer-friendly programs, government has successfully cut down spending on food crops that can be grown within the country. Now, a major achievement of this administration is the improved production of rice.
Absolutely. Now, the country is gradually on its way to becoming self-sufficient when it comes to rice production.
Under agriculture, Nigeria continues to pursue a strategic food security program built around self-sufficiency and minimization of import dependency. As a result, rice importation from other countries has been cut down by 90%, which has a direct impact on foreign revenue.
Okay. Well, a lot of farmers are going to say, really? What did you say? But however, it's not for us to argue that. We have a farmer on ground. He is the CEO, X-Ray Farms Consulting and AF Marketing, African Farmer Mortgagee. African Farmer, good morning.
Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice to see you.
Same here.
It's good to have you in the farms, and then you are there in the corporate, in the boardroom, and then you're there in the US, and then you're there in London, and so on. But however, it's good to be home.
Same here.
The president has said we're moving towards food sufficiency, especially in rice and all of that. You are on ground. Talk to us. How real is what the president said to what is really on ground?
Well, he mentioned 90%. That we can argue.
Okay.
Yes, we're moving, but not 50%.
Oh.
So 90%,
not even 50%,
yeah, not 50%. Okay. But the mechanism that we'll be using to drive that is on ground, but 90% means that everybody can feel and see it.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing that the price has dropped with even 40%, you know. So it's what they gave him that he would read. So bottom line, that's not accurate.
But apart from what they gave him, he's the one driving the policy. He's the one who owns the policy, who owns the programs. So should he wait for what he's given to before he reads, or he should even know, feel the pulse of what's going on? Well,
the reality around here in Nigeria is that you can have a different scenario in the field, and it's a different report that they are giving the people, ministers, commissioners. I've witnessed this many times where the reports that the people at the helm of affairs get is totally different from what's happening. And so in different platforms, you engage them and they tell you, no, this is functional, this is functional. I say, sir, it's not functional. And so, and that's an unfortunate scenario around here, because even most of like the ministers and co don't get to select the people they work with. So you would always have these issues.
And of course,
and it's a national embarrassment.
Yeah, well, yeah. But then let's look at some of the policies or efforts being put in place that we can see, even though it might not have spread as being put out by the president. The anchor borrower scheme, which many farmers, rice farmers, have benefited from. Am I correct to say that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Quite a significant amount of farmers have engaged and enjoyed the anchor borrowers scheme by the CBN. Yes, but not to the capacity, like I've said it here. The funds that have been set aside, I'm not sure that about 40% of those funds have been disbursed. Not that it's not available for disbursement, but the banks and a couple of other clauses in the policies is not making it accessible by the anchor.
Okay.
The anchor meaning the person who will be interfacing between CBN. Yes, there are a couple of documentation required that the anchor may not necessarily have. And it's the banks who require those. The anchor. Okay. The anchor meaning the person who will be interfacing between CBN. Yes, there are a couple of documentation required that the anchor may not necessarily have. And it's the banks who require those documents. in doing their due diligence. But this is an initiative, meaning that things are supposed to be flexible to encourage a particular sector, but the banks will still ask you for almost the same documentation with commercial loans, and these are incentives. So that bottleneck is still there. The funds are there, but the banks...
And the government might not know about this.
Some know, but most times, most of them don't know. Most of them don't know.
If you have to put the success of that based on percentage, how would you rate it? The anchor borrower scheme.
The anchor borrower scheme vis-a-vis rice production, I would give them like a 70%, because rice has increased, but productivity has not increased. They are two different things.
Okay.
Rice production has increased because many people now know that government is focusing on rice, and so they're bringing in their resources. But in terms of productivity, we're still giving fertilizer, we're giving seed, we're giving the same things that has been done in the last 40 years. We need to be looking at equipments, small tractors. The rice farmers who have been farming without the incentives are still doing the same thing they are doing. You know, so productivity is what we need to really... So
mechanized farming is not still being...
Yes, and it doesn't have to be those big equipments. The two-wheel tractors, something that the farmer can use in other operations apart from rice. That is really where we need intervention. But I must say the anchor borrower is a program I support, and the effect is there in the field. Rice production has increased, but not significantly to affect the markets.
Okay.
All right. There seems to be so much emphasis on rice, like you said, but when it comes to the initiative of diversification and broadening the horizon, what other aspect of agriculture should they also look at, or should government and the people look at, in order not to put everything into rice?
Now, long term, the strategy should be to invest in short term, mid term, and long term. The three must be done together. The document released on 2016 to 2020 document spoke about involving in the three.
The ERGP,
yes.
Economic Recovery and Growth Plan?
No, not that.
The one on agriculture?
Yes, the one on agriculture. However, the implementation is just short term. The mid and long term, we're not hearing anything about cassava again.
I was about to ask that question.
We're not hearing anything
bread
at all.
Dead. About 7 billion naira down.
Everything about cassava has just gone down. We're not hearing cassava, we're hearing rice. Meanwhile, the value addition of cassava is greater than rice. We're focusing on the amount of money we spend on rice, but we're not looking at the ripple effect. The livestock industry will be affected by rice, by cassava. We are #1 already in cassava. So if we are #1 already in cassava, investments in cassava will affect all the value chain and impact more lives. So we need to, and we're looking at oil palm. About 400 million was used in importing palm oil last year. So we need to begin to strategically position for the future and not this short-term investments. And yes, government has invested a lot in rice mills. However, there's a challenge there. The people getting the rice mills are not the ones who ought to get it. So you have a lot of government investments lying fallow in rice mills. People have taken the rice mills. They've not been able to install those rice mills. So even though anchor borrower is funding production, as long as people in the market are not seeing this rice, then there's a challenge. So what needs to happen is for government to go back to say, hey, all the people who access these mills, if you don't install within the next 90 days, we're taking it back from you. And the people who have installed, we need to be sure that you are doing what needs to be done. So monitoring and evaluation, I've always said it, is where there's a gap.
Absolutely, and it seems that entrepreneur initiative is growing. More graduates, young people are now going into agriculture in the country, right?
I would give this administration 100% in sustaining the momentum.
100%?
I'll give them 100%.
That's a big one.
Yes.
That's absolute.
In terms of momentum, following up on the implementation of creating awareness on agriculture. They are doing their best. They can do better, but they are doing their best, really. So the momentum has increased. Private sector youths, most of the youths now want to go into agriculture. The Tony Alumelu, I met with the CEO last year, and she was saying, I think over 60% of the applications they received was towards agriculture. So the government has been successful in priming the youths and the private sector, and which is a good thing.
And specialized agri groups are even cropping up by the day, but my director says we have to stop at this time. African Farmer Magaji, CEO, X-Ray Farms, thank you very much for coming on the show.
Thank you for coming. Thank you so much.